Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Yavamis, Parak Yud, Chapter 10, Mishnah Dal, Mishnah 4. Excuse me. Bishalcha Ishlam Dina Sayam. Now, in this case, we have a person's wife going to a foreign country. Uba v'amru la mesa ishtacha. And they came and said to him, your wife died. Now, the ramifications of his wife dying is that now he can marry her sister. One may not marry one's wife's sister as long as she is alive. Even if you divorce her, you cannot marry her sister. But when she dies, the former husband may marry his sister-in-law, his wife's sister. So what happened here was that the witnesses came and said that his wife had died, and he married her sister, and then his wife showed up.
Uh-oh.
His wife showed up. There she is. The witness who said that she had died got it wrong. And now his wife is around. So any ramifications of that, says the Mishnah, muteres lachzor. His wife can go back to him. Why not? She didn't commit any adultery, right? If a woman commits adultery, even in all the cases we had until now, she was unintentional. But again, she was to a certain degree negligent. Therefore, she's considered that she committed adultery. She can now go back to her husband. But in this case, where the man mistakenly married his sister-in-law. So, number one, marrying your now, when a person marries his sister-in-law, thinking that his wife was dead, but she really isn't, did he actually marry her? No. There's no such thing as marriage or even kedushin on your wife's sister. Any erva, any relative that Torah forbids that carries at least the punishment of karis, of spiritual excision, that's a death punishment. Those women you can't even marry. If you make a kedushin on her, it doesn't count. It doesn't mean anything. So when he mistakenly married his sister-in-law, it was nothing. So it's not like his wife became his wife's sister, because the sister that he married, there was no kedushin. Nothing happened. Nothing took place. So at the end of the day, what did he do? So he lived with her wrongfully, but there's nothing there that says that she can go back to him. There is no penalty on him. The Torah does not forbid him if he married somebody else that he shouldn't have. His first wife didn't do anything wrong, so she can go back. And the marriage to the sister-in-law didn't mean anything. So there's no reason that the original wife can't go back. She didn't commit any adultery. His marriage to her sister never counted as anything. And therefore, as I said, if his marriage to the sister would have counted, then his wife would have become his new wife's sister. But that's not happening here, because there is no kedushin, there is no marriage on the sister, and therefore there is no reason why his wife can't go back to him. Now, furthermore, hu muter b'krevei shniya u'shniya muteres b'krevav. He is permitted to marry the relatives of his second wife in quotation, u'shniya muteres b'krevav, and the second wife is permitted to his relatives. If you marry a woman, there are certain relatives of that woman that become forbidden to you. You marry a woman, she has a daughter. That daughter, even if let's say the wife dies, you can't marry that daughter. It's your wife's daughter. That happens through marriage. Now, in this case, if he mistakenly married his wife's sister, and that woman had a daughter, and then she died, or that woman had a daughter, forget about dying, that woman had a daughter, could he marry that woman's daughter, his sister-in-law's daughter, his niece? Sure, why not? He was never married to her mother. It was a mistake. And therefore, it had no kedusha. There was no marriage at all. And therefore, he is permitted in her relatives. There'd be nothing wrong with him marrying, nothing wrong marrying that sister-in-law's daughter. And so, too, Ushni Materes B'Krevav. And the second one is permitted in his relatives. A woman marries a man. The man has a son. She can never marry that son. But in this case, the son of the man she married, which is the son of her brother-in-law, not an issue, because she was never married to him. And therefore, she remains permitted to all his relatives. And if, let's say, the first wife dies, mutter b'shniya, He's allowed to marry the second one. He's allowed to be married to the second one.
As
Meaning,
long as you're sure. As long as you're sure.
as long as you're sure, correct. Being sure that now his first wife did die, she died locally, he knows that she died, so now he can actually marry his sister-in-law because now his wife is gone, and he can marry the sister-in-law. And even though beforehand they were married and even cohabited in a forbidden manner, there is no halacha that says that if a person cohabited with his sister-in-law in a forbidden manner, to say that when she would become permissible, that he can't marry her anymore. A woman who commits adultery, she can never be permitted to her husband or to the adulterer. But in this case, that's not what's happening. It's not a question of adultery. It happens to be that, yes, there was a cohabitation with an erva, with a forbidden relative, but there's no halacha that says that if you once cohabited with a forbidden relative, that you can't marry her anymore, even if she becomes permissible. So therefore, in this case, where his wife died, which allows one to marry his wife's sister, in this case also he'd be permitted to marry that wife's sister that he had mistakenly married before. Now, Amrulai, they told him, Meisa Ishtacha, your wife died. V'nasas achaisa, and he went and he married her sister. V'achakach Amrulai, and then they said to him, meaning that, let's say one witness told him, your wife died. He married her sister. V'achkach Amrulai, and then afterwards they said to him, two witnesses came and said to him, Kayemes Haisa, she was alive. When that first witness says that she was dead, no, she was alive. Which means that when you married her sister, you weren't allowed to. Vamesa, but she died later. Okay, she died later. So when you married her sister, you weren't allowed to. But now, because she was alive, we're telling you now she's gone. Now she's dead. All right. So he was wrongfully married to his wife's sister. She's an erva. Havlad Rishon Mamzer. The child born from the Havlad Rishon, the child of the first, meaning the child of their union before the wife had actually died, meaning the wife of the union that came because of the mistaken testimony that his wife was dead then, the child from that marriage, mamzer, is a mamzer. Because again, a child born from a union of a man and an erva, it could have been unintentional, doesn't matter. The child born from that union is going to be a mamzer. Child born from a union that potentially carries the punishment of at least charis, of one soul being cut off, of having a death punishment. The child born from that union, even if it was unintentional, which means there will not actually be the punishment of charis, but any kind of union that could carry the punishment of charis, as we say in erva, the child from that union is going to be a mamzer. V'ha'akrin ain't a mamzer. But the later one, meaning the child that is born after his wife actually died, meaning his wife actually died, and then he actually married his sister-in-law and had a child. That child's not a mamzer, because at that point the sister has passed on, and therefore there is no reason for the child to be a mamzer. At that point that the sister has actually passed on, he is permitted to marry his wife's sister, and since that union is permitted, the child from that will not be a mamzer. Okay, we will finish the Mishnah next time.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Wait. Still close time.
I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Yesh davar shesur mitam avak lashon hara. We're going to get now into a topic called avak lashon hara. Avak means dust. A dusting of lashon hara. It's not exactly lashon hara, but it definitely has connotations of lashon hara. There are things that are forbidden because of a dusting of lashon hara, the dust of lashon hara. Like for instance, what's an example? Somebody says about someone, whoever thought he would come out the way he did? Did he say something wrong? He didn't say anything wrong, but he clearly implied something. He implied that, there was something about this person's behavior previously that would never lend itself to think that he'd be the way he is now. That's called avak lashon hara, indirect lashon hara, dusting of lashon hara. Or another example, you say, Shiska Miplani, and he writes it like Lahaidia Ma'ira Ma'ia. Don't talk about so and so. I don't want to talk about what happened or what's going to be. Did he say anything? Didn't say anything, but clearly there's a connotation that there's something not right here. By saying, I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to hear about him. I want to hear from him. I don't want to hear anything about him. And anything similar to this. Now, here's another example. You praise someone in front of his enemies. There's somebody, somebody does not like, you're going to say something, you want to praise Ruvain. Who do you praise Reuven in front of? The people that don't like Reuven. That is also considered indirect lashon hara. Why? If you praise someone in front of his enemies, what are they going to say? No, he's not such a good guy. He did this, he did this, he did that. So you're bringing about that people can speak lashon hara about him. That's also called indirect lashon hara. That's causing lashon hara. And if you overdo it on praising someone, you really praise him a lot. You're not allowed to do that in front of. You're not allowed to do that even in front of somebody who's not, and even in front of someone that's not his enemies. When you start going overboard on praising someone, it is very common that afterwards you're going to say something bad at the end. Loimer is saying, so-and-so, he is unbelievable. You going on. Besides, for one thing, it's just like a habit. When you overdo it on someone, it becomes just part of a habit, of a bad trait, that something bad you're going to have to say. You got to kind of qualify it at some level. Or the other ones are going to say, people listening to you are going to say, why are you talking so much about his praise? Why are you saying that he's such a great guy? He's got this problem, he's got that problem, he's got this bad trait, that bad trait. This is all a result of the fact that you're overdoing it on the praise. So you're praising the person, you didn't say anything wrong. But if through your words something bad about the person comes out, that falls under the category of avak lashon hara, a dusting of lashon hara, and indirect lashon hara. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Have the